Madam Town Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
You certainly may. Okay, Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Croft.
Here. Introduction, presentation, proclamations, we have none. Let's go right directly to call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone that would like to speak to the council?
Donna's got her hand up.
Okay. Donna, we'll start with you because you're closest.
I'm Donna Armstrong. I'm from Chino Valley. I'm here to tell everybody that AARP.
Donna, pull the mic down to you, please.
That better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. AARP is started their taxes. We do taxes free at the library on Wednesday and Thursday from 9 to 3, and we'd love for all of you to come in and have your taxes done. It's all done, we're all trained by IRS, and it's e-filed. You are filed when you walk out the door. The other thing I want to bring up is census has been mailed. You should be getting it within the next week or so. Please fill it out and send it in. I understand it's only 10 questions this year. For everyone who sends it in, I have been told it will matter $2,000 a person to the state, which part will trickle down to county and part will then trickle down to city. So it's really important. We can also maybe get a congressional seat out of it if it all works out right. So we'll have more voice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Please, please fill out the census. It will help all of us with the money that we can get back from the feds. Anyone else?
No, never mind.
Yes, sir. Please come up, tell us your name. We need to give one to our attorney and
Oh, sure, I'm sorry, I brought 7, so at the end I'll give it to you. Hi, my name is Randy Odom, and I live here in Chino Valley in the Bright Star community. And I wanted to bring to your attention, we've had an issue going on for over the 2 years that I have lived in that community. The first issue that had come up was over a year ago. We had some people in our park tearing it up, vandalism, that kind of thing. And I called the police, and the police said there was nothing we could do because it was considered private land, so they could tear up as they please, and there was no jurisdiction for the city of Chino to stop it. So then from there, we had this issue that Mandalay has spent money on, the Homeowners Association has spent money on, and I am in charge of the landscape committee for Bright Star. And basically people are dumping inside our community, the outside of our community, and this is what the pictures have to do with, that this is an ongoing issue that literally thousands of dollars have been spent and many man hours cleaning up. The first picture that I want to draw to your attention, this happens to be on my street. Yavapai Landscaping was doing someone's backyard. You can see the thick mud in the street. I said to them, you can't leave this mess here. And they said, yes, we can, because Chino Valley has no laws against dumping. So if you look on the second page here, you can see in the home how deep the tracks are. They were doing the backyard. They were running all that mud and gravel down the street. The gravel that they brought was not near the home. It was beyond the end of the street, actually, and they were hauling it back and forth through the mud. The next page was just showing you on the street the piles.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The piles of gravel, you can see one on the far left, and then where the Bobcat is. Just so you know, Yavapai Landscaping has finished, and it remains there. There's about 40 feet across that there's gravel and dump. On the next page, you can see in the background and the foreground 2 piles that was left. The back pile is cement and dirt. We have had gardening companies that come in and just dump and leave, and then we are having to pick it up. On the next page, you're gonna see 4 more piles. One of the homes is actually, that's what they're looking at from their front yard, where people just continually are dumping, and we're having to go out and have it cleaned up. The next page, this is inside the community. As you can see, it's a large pile of dirt. That pile is still remaining there. And then lastly, this is at the end of another street, and you can see the sign laying on the ground. A truck literally ran over the post to dump out there behind a home. I talked to the police and the sergeant of the police, and both of them said, if it's not a safety issue, it's basically legal to dump anywhere in the city, and they can't do anything. If it is on public land and it is a safety hazard, they dumped in the middle of the road, yes, they can do something, but that is the only time. Basically, there's no laws to stop the vandalism or the dumping. Lastly here,
Is the timer not working?
No.
Didn't start it in time, so we've just been watching the clock, but he's on that.
anyway, there should be no difference between dumping and vandalizing on the private and public land. Basically, it should be stopped. I did also talk to David Jaime of Code Enforcement. He welcomes you to call him. He said he looked through everything. They can find nothing to stop people in city code from dumping anywhere in the city, and it is our responsibility to clean it up, to pay to have this removed. So anyway, if you could check that out, I would greatly appreciate it.
We will, and we'll have an answer for you the next council meeting.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak? I see the Elks back there raising their arm. Thank you for coming.
My name is Beverly Swanty, and I am here representing the Chino Valley Elks. We have a banner that we want to show you that's just going to blow you away. It is the amount of money that the Chino Valley Elks has donated to the community of Chino Valley in the last 15 years. This includes time and money. The gentlemen here are going to show you this banner, so hold on to your seats. Oh, I'm hoping they'll show everybody.
They get it first.
How about showing it to the council?
261,000.
Yeah, it is so big he had to drop it, yeah. It's really a heavy banner. Yay!
Yeah, we'd like to see it
There we
too.
go.
Can I owe you?
Cool.
You believe that?
Thank you.
Isn't that
Nice.
wonderful?
Thank you.
I've got all the things that we do in the community with our Clothe the Child, which Mike and the transit always helps transport our kids, and We've given dictionaries to every third grader in the whole community for the last 15 years. We donate to the food bank, the hungry kids. We support the Chino Valley Reading Program at the library. We have the blood drive. We have road cleanup. And we have a first responders that I know our mayor comes to, where we honor our fireman of the year, our policeman of the year, and our deputy sheriff that services our area. We also have a pancake breakfast for the vets. And we just donate to the whole community. And I just wanted to bring that banner so you could appreciate us. Okay?
Thank you.
That's it. Thank
Thank you
you.
for what you do. We appreciate it. And if you'll take that Marine home and get him out of,
Yeah, isn't that nice? Well, that money includes time donated and money donated too. But that's amazing when you put it all together.
you do a flag thing.
Thank you.
You do a lot of stuff. Thank you
We
very
do
much for what
appreciate
do.
you.
Very much. Anyone else? Any other advertisements? No. Okay, let's go on to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during the call to the public at the previous meeting. And we have 3 items, and I'll read all 3 items, and then Mr. Cook is gonna come up and talk about item A and B. Item A, questions and comments about the Brooks Apartments property history and concerns with the current planned development. Item B is comments regarding.
That's my job, is what I do.
That's your job. You're a little late. Comments regarding, I can't even speak. Lot splits, definition of subdivision, and property owner rights, and comments regarding a problem with cats and lack of town regulations. So the first thing I'm gonna do is ask Mr. Cook, who's the Development Services Director, to come up and talk about item A, which is current questions and comments about Brook Apartments property history and concern of current plan development.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I drafted a response based on the comments that we received for Brook Apartments. I am going to read that response verbatim because of the number of comments, and I think there's a lot of information that we need to make sure is clarified and clear before the end of the meeting tonight. I will be addressing the persistent questions and sometimes inaccurate information being spread about the property located off of Road 2 North, just south of a platted commercial subdivision. The comments raised and the inaccurate information fall into 5 categories. First, the status of the current zoning, including the effect of an expired conditional use permit. Second, the access to Brook Apartments. Third, claims made by the property owners as to the uses allowed on the property and proposed development. Fourth, claims made by the neighbors that the fire department does not have apparatus to fight an apartment fire. And 5, the surrounding property owners' rights. The town council rezoned the property in August of 2006 to a split-zoned SR2 MR1 zoning district. In November of 2006 of the same year, the property was divided into 2 separate parcels, each with its own zoning designation. The western parcel was designated SR2, and the current Brook Apartments property was designated MR1. These designations have not changed since the August of 2006 adoption. The town council granted a conditional use permit for MR1 property to allow for the development of an assisted living facility. The conditional use permit expired after 10 years. The expiration of a conditional use permit does not affect the underlying zoning, which remains MR1, which zoning entitles the owner of said land to develop it according to the list of uses found in the town's Unified Development Ordinance 3.13. The access to the property is through Hawks Nest Trail, which is a platted street, even though the commercial subdivision to the north of the MR1 parcel has not been improved or developed. Typically, the streets in a commercial subdivision are built at the time of the platting or built later by the developer or by the town, using the funds provided by the developer through bonding. In this case, neither the developer nor the town has had the need to construct the street. However, even though not yet built, Hawks Nest Trail provides legal ingress and egress for the MR1 property. The town will require Brook Apartments to make the necessary improvements to complete Hawks Nest Trail, including paved street, curb, gutter, and sidewalk, prior to allowing occupancy of the project. The town does not regulate the content of private websites, like the one listing future development potential of Brook Apartments. While perhaps somewhat disingenuous and inaccurate, the claims on the website do not change the existing zoning of the property. It is still MR1 as it has been since 2006. The fact of the matter is that while the town council voted no on a planned area development rezone on the property still is subject to the underlying MR1 zoning. Each zoning district has a list of entitled uses that guides future development of property located within the zone. MR1 zoning entitles the property with that zoning classification to develop as apartments. The documentation for these entitlements is in the UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, Section 3.13. The property is 6.85 acres, 298,386 square feet. Multiplying that total number of square feet by the maximum density permitted, which is 1 unit per 3,000 square feet, gives a total density allowance of 99.462 units. Staff rounds down since you can't have half a unit. The MR1 property owners have submitted for site plan review for an apartment complex with 96 units, even though it is not required. The owners have decided to maintain an 80-foot setback, as shown on the previously denied PAD proposal. Under the MR1 zoning, they could have setbacks far smaller than 80 feet, 10 feet along the rear and 20 feet on the sides. Site plan approvals are administrative. The town council will not be asked to review any further. At the town council meeting, was held to decide whether to approve the PAD. CAFMA Fire Chief Freitag stated that CAFMA has the apparatus available in town to satisfy all fire requirements up to and exceeding 35 feet in height, which is the proposed height of the apartments. The apparatus that can handle these calls is located in the fire station on Road 3 North next to the police station, which is no more than a 5-minute drive. One resident asked, "I'm an American, why is this happening?" The simple answer is this: property rights are a two-way street. The MR1 property owners are exercising their rights to develop their property according to the town's adopted regulations. The UDO includes carefully considered land use regulations adopted by the town council following extensive public hearings. These hearings are held and the required processes are followed to ensure that all property owners, those seeking a change and those who may be affected by the requested change, are afforded due process of the law as required by state and federal constitutions. The town council cannot favor the rights of one property owner over another. Everyone must be given the same constitutional protections. When the MR1 property owners requested a change in zoning in 2006, all properties had the opportunity to be heard, either in favor of or against the change. The 2006 town council decided it was appropriate for the property to be rezoned to include the MR1 zoning, much like the current town council decided it was not appropriate for the property zoning to be further modified as the requested PAD. The Brook apartment owners are proceeding with development of their property according to the 2006 rezoning approval. The time for challenging the town council's adoption of the MR1 zoning on this property passed nearly 14 years ago. If the town were to deny a property owner's request to develop property in a manner consistent with the adopted provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance, the town could face a legal challenge under the Private Property Rights Protection Act, which was approved by Arizona voters in 2006. On a final note, I want to be perfectly clear that I am not related to and do not have any connection with the Brook Apartments developers or their management company. Sharing a common name does not create a relationship. It is truly disheartening to hear unfounded and untrue accusations at public meetings and to read such accusations in correspondence to the town council. I try to always treat the citizens of this community with fairness and respect, and I will continue to do so as long as I am tenured here. That's the conclusion of that.
Okay, let's go on to item B. Item B, comments regarding lot splits, definition of subdivision, and property owner rights.
The response to this is longer than the Brooks apartment, so for brevity's sake, I will be summarizing much of it. If Mr. Roberts wants a copy of this, I'm willing to provide him a copy either through email or I can print out an official copy for him and give it to him. With regards to Mr. Comment's claims that the town's interpretation of subdivision is inconsistent with Arizona revised statutes, Mr. Roberts is incorrect. The law is clear that any division of land that involves a new street is a subdivision, as a street also includes an easement for public vehicular access. Divisions of land into 2 or more parcels with an easement for public vehicular access are subdivisions, and all subdivisions must comply with the town's subdivision regulations. Both the state statute definition and the UDO definition for both streets and subdivisions are nearly identical, and I've broken down the components of the subdivision definitions for clarity. A subdivision is improved or unimproved land or lands divided for the purpose of financing, sale, or lease, whether immediate or future, into 1, 4 or more lots, tracts, or parcels of land, or 2, if a new street is involved, any such property which is divided into 2 or more lots, tracts, or parcels of land, or 3, any such property, the boundaries of which have been fixed by a recorded plat, which is divided into 2 or more parts. In essence, those properties that are already part of an existing subdivision. To summarize, any division of land that involves a new street, including an easement for public vehicular access, is a subdivision under the Arizona state statutes and the town code. As a street includes an easement, a division of land into 2 or more parcels with these easements, as were proposed in the denied lot splits, are subdivisions. Subdivisions must comply with the town's subdivision regulations. There are also claims that the town was interpreting these provisions and treating the lot splits differently than other communities. I think he said throughout the state. Staff over the last 2 weeks has contacted probably 15 different communities. In this letter, I've provided the responses of the 9 communities that responded to us. For brevity's sake, I'm only going to list a few of them. Prescott Valley, they do not allow any exempt wells at all. All land splits are required to extend water lines for service. Full subdivision process is required whenever a street or easement used for public access is created, with no exceptions. Sewer extension is required within 300 feet, and water extension is required for all subdivisions as part of their agreement with the state as part of the AMA, which is Active Management Area. Clarksdale, since 1986, the properties have only been allowed to be split 3 times. Cumulative splits after that always require the subdivision process. Essentially, they track all their lot splits by the parent parcel. So once that parent parcel is split into 3, any future splits require a subdivision process. Wickenburg, any lot splits occurring after 1994 and involving property under 2.5 acres are subject to the subdivision regulations. They have 6 categories of subdivisions, with each one having different road standards based on the number of lots that are created. Cottonwood, any new lot split with an easement created after 1979 requires going through the subdivision process. All new lots are required to have frontage on a town-dedicated street. Newly created flag lots must have an average flagpole of 30 feet in width and 60 feet in length. And road design is to the City of Cottonwood Engineering Design Standards Manual. Prescott, I talked to the Development Services Director with Prescott, and she said that their city currently doesn't see very many lot splits due to the nature of their city, but they track it cumulatively as well based on their application form. So in closing, as I have found, staff's interpretation is in line with both Arizona revised statutes and existing code definitions and requirements. Further, jurisdictions within Arizona are not only enforcing the land splits according to the Arizona statutes, but also require a certain level of infrastructure improvements for land splits that do not qualify as a subdivision. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going on with the final item, comments regarding a problem with cats and lack of town regulations. Everybody hear me? This is a response drafted for the public comment received during the January 28, 2020 regular town council meeting. A gentleman asked about any laws regarding cats that run free within the neighborhood. He said there are about 22 cats in his area that are destroying his personal property. Mr. Bromberg is correct that there is no town ordinance regarding cats Our animal control facility has no space to keep them. We have insufficient staff to care for them. The majority of cat problems in Chino Valley involve feral cats. We can offer the use of our NRT Trap Neuter Release program. This is a grant-funded program in which you may borrow a trap from our animal control department, and upon successful trap of a cat, it will be neutered before it is being released. This should eliminate the spraying problem you're experiencing with these cats. Thank you. Let's go on to current events and reports, summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may represent a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, there may also be a presentation or information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered. No action will be taken. I don't have anything. Does anyone on the council?
I do. There's going to be a 50th celebration kickoff barn dance on March 13th at the Del Rio School. It's going to be a DJ thing with the costume contest. What was it, Mark? Early Western, 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And then they're going to have drawings and give away books and stuff. Some drinks will be provided for free, and there will be snacks and stuff on sale from the school groups. Culinary? Yeah.
Culinary.
There you go.
That's it.
Town manager, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a couple staff announcements I'd like to make. First one, I wanted to recognize Cindy Thomas, our Assistant Community Services Director. She's been nominated by Prescott Area Leadership for Female of the Year. So congratulations to Cindy. And the second staff I want to do a shout out to is Erin Deskins, our Deputy Town Clerk. She's received her certification as an election officer. And Secretary of State Katie Hobbs was up here yesterday to formally present her with her certification. And lastly, I just want to recognize February anniversaries. You should take my name out of there, but otherwise we have Joe Grousey's been here for 10 years. Laura Kiriakowski's has been here for 5 years. I killed her last name. I'm sorry, Laura. Kat Lordy has been here for 8, and Clint Wilson in our utility department has been here for 2 years. So thank you for all your commitment to our community.
And how long have you been here, Cecilia?
In a week, no, in 2 days it'll be 19 years.
That's it, huh? 19 years. Congratulations. Consent agenda. All these items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. We are going to pull item A because it's not quite ready, correct? We're going to table it to the next, how about we table it to the next meeting? We'll table it to the next meeting. Let's go to item B and C. I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve consent agenda items B and C.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Motion carries. There are no nays, I assume. Action items. The council may vote to recess the public meeting, hold an executive session at any item. I think we need to fix our speaker system before the next meeting.
Or fix a speaker.
You can replace me. You don't have to wait till the end of the year.
Yeah, you do.
The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431-0383 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public. No action may be taken in executive session. And the item is consideration and possible action to amend the design build contract to Jebco Construction Companies, LLC, for the utility shop building at Old Home Manor and Memory Park restrooms in the amount of $876,171 for construction services. Mr. Marbury, who is our Public Works Director, Town Engineer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the second part of the contract for a design build to amend the contract for the construction phase. We have the architect here that has a brief, about 4-slide presentation of the overview if you wanted to run through that and kind of go over the floor plans for that.
Please do.
Okay, if I could ask the architect to come up, and then at that time, we could answer any questions council may have as
Okay.
far as the project goes.
Enter,
You can use the mouse, and for a pointer, that way it shows up
Yeah.
online too.
but then I can
Oh.
just go.
This is
There we
Sergio
go.
Martinez, by the way.
Think most of me. No, I'm glad to be back at the podium. I'd just like to give you a quick summary of where we are, where we're going, and what we're kind of building. And I've got it divided into the restroom at Armory Park first, and then the utility shop. And I'm going to show you a floor plan, an image, a breakdown of the cost if you want to break that down, and a schedule. And at the end, we've done a little bit of value engineering, so we've got a couple options of some value things that we need to consider whether we want to accept or not, and I'll go through those in a second. So our first project is the restrooms at Memory Park. Basically, we'll be building a brand-new building just to the south of the existing building, all masonry construction. We have a men's and women's restroom that's going to almost triple the amount of facilities that are there now. As of January 1st, Governor Ducey introduced a new law regarding public restrooms in that we have to have an adult changing station in the restrooms. And so the most cost-efficient way to do that is to put it into a family restroom or a unisex restroom instead of putting one in each of the men's and women's. So that's part of the reason why we have a family restroom there. We do have one entrance that could be fully secured, and it'll be an automatic timer that Parks and Recs will release a latch in the morning and the afternoon to keep it open during specific hours. We did a couple extra things in there. The partitions between all the stalls are masonry, solid, so they're non-destructible. They can't ride them, they can't scratch them. And we're trying to make this facility last a long time. Same thing with the doors into the stalls. They're not your typical stall doors that you see in restrooms. They're actually hollow metal painted doors. So if they're scratched or graffiti, all we've got to do is paint them and hopefully make this building last for a long time. It's basically a square building. We're using 2-color different masonry outside, a wainscot on the bottom to add some color, some neutral color, and then a band that goes around, and then a pitch roof with asphalt shingles. The colors still remain to be identified. Within the next 2 weeks, we'll be bringing those to the town for approval and see which direction we want to go with those colors. Can't really see this, but this is the breakdown of the cost. And for the restrooms, without any of the value engineering, is $247,140. And within that, we have an allowance for a septic tank system. And the reason we have an allowance is there's a system there, and we need to verify if we just need to add a tank and extend the leaching field or replace it all. And that's why we went to an allowance. So we've got some more engineering to do and some permitting with the county as well. The time frame that we have basically allocated from the day that we get our notice to proceed or our contract amendment to go, we are looking at completing the restroom within 14 weeks, provided we don't have any delays in weather. So that's pretty much my conclusion on the restrooms. Any questions on the restrooms?
Questions?
Moving over to the utility shop, we have a couple options. As designed right now, it's 125 feet long, which consists of three offices here to the left, a laboratory, restrooms with a shower, a break room kitchen area, storage area, and then 2 drive-through bays and an additional bay for storage. So one of the options that you have as pricing is to build that extra bay and make it 125 feet long, with an option of reducing that if we wanted to save some money or cut down some cost, and only do it 100 feet wide.
And the difference of that is, the exact number is between about $25,000 to $30,000 to do that extra bay. So if you were to do that at a later date, it'll be like 3 times that. So if we have the money, I think right now is the time to do it. And utility shops people said they do have a need for it. We also have an alternate that you see later. They requested on the outside, on both sides of the overhead drive-in bays, an apron on the outside of concrete. And so we have an alternate. At the end, I'll show you what the cost to add that on is if you all desire to proceed with that. The building is a pre-engineered metal building, real simple little canopy at the main entrance, some overhead doors, and you can see those canopies there. The cost, as it stands now without any value engineering, is at $590,480. This project, we are, oops, I missed something here. I think I was missing one, but we're proposing that from the day we get notice to proceed, that we will have 26 weeks to complete this project. And the reason this is taking a little bit longer is that there's about a 6 to 10 week delay period from the time we ordered the pre-engineered metal building and it's arrived. But our goal is to start the construction of the restrooms and the shop simultaneously and try to build these as fast as we can. On the value engineering options, one of the things I talked about was those 2 concrete aprons for the shops. And that would be an add of $14,375 if we wanted to do that. I talked about the septic system allowance. And then a couple of the other options that we have from value engineering. For the utility shops, the roof and the walls are all insulated. And currently, the doors are insulated. But if we wanted to reduce a little bit of money, we could save $3,500 by not insulating the overhead doors. The second is the overhead doors currently are automatic, so you press a button, they roll up. And if we wanted to save a little bit of money there, almost $6,000, we can go to chain hoisted operated doors. But I will say the doors are 14 feet wide, about 16 feet tall, so they're pretty heavy doors. The frequency of the use of those doors is kind of minimal, but it's still got to worry about somebody gets injured pulling the hoist. Probably costs us more than the money for it. So those are 2 VE items there. The next one is when we were putting the bid together, some of our electrical suppliers came in with some VE where we could substitute some of the lighting and some of the switchgear for the panels and not reducing the quality whatsoever. So I would really encourage that item 3, that we accept that for $7,400 and reduce that, because we're not going to lose any of the efficiency or the effectiveness that we wanted. Item 4 is the same thing at the restrooms. And so that's another savings that I think we could accept and to have a good product. And then the last one is a big one. Currently, the design has stainless steel fixtures for the laboratories and the toilets at the restrooms. And one of the VE items would be to change those from stainless steel, which are more durable, to a porcelain type, and there's a substantial savings for that. But they're not going to last as long as well. So that kind of concludes my presentation, unless you have any further questions.
If I'm understanding correctly, options 3, 4, and 5, your recommendation would to be to change those and deduct, we got your $25,000.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Perkins, my recommendation would be to accept items 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Frank?
Anybody else on this side?
Oh, sure. One thing that Frank just reminded me, in the restrooms, the electric service that we're running is a lot more than what we need for the restrooms. So we're putting a 400 amp service for the purposes of any future events and things that go on the park. The service is there. So if you have tents, vendors, there's already power there to connect it as well.
I have one question. On your lighting, Are you using LEDs, resin, or what are we using for lighting?
LEDs.
LEDs?
Yes, sir.
And even though we go with different manufacturer or whatever, we don't change anything?
That's correct. The quality of the lighting will remain the same, it's just a different manufacturer.
Okay, thank you.
Fire requirements on this size building.
None. We need a fire alarm, but we do not need to sprinkle it. We're under the threshold.
Which is,
I believe it's like 15,000 square feet. I can't remember exactly. But we talked to development services and the fire department, and it was determined it did not need to be sprinkled.
or a water tank?
Or a water tank, correct.
Okay.
Too big a building.
Huh?
You built too big of a building.
Okay. What additional costs need to be put into this to not just the contractors, but are there outside costs, parking lots? We talked about the slabs.
The aprons themselves, we could bid that separately if we wanted to do it that way, and maybe save some money, like provide some more of the prep work in-house and go that route. There's these buildings, the utility shop in particular is not a public building at this time, so the paving and the other work needed with that could come at a later date, but eventually, when there's public access, we'll need some paving around there. So that will come at some point. There probably needs some fence extensions as well, if that becomes, depending on with the equestrian facilities lease and having to move the roads. I'm envisioning moving the roads over there for a shop yard, so you would fence in a whole shop yard at some point and add future buildings for roads and maybe even administration at some point there. And then the restrooms, there's going to be some more flat work needed probably to connect the old building with the new building and make sure we have accessible route for, say, wheelchair people that need walkers or some sort of assistance, to make sure there's an accessible route to that accessible restroom. So that's not included in these current prices too, so.
Okay.
And miscellaneous landscaping as well. There's no landscaping involved in this.
HVAC in this?
We have a mix of it. Sergio, you might know better than.
Sure. In the restrooms, we have ventilation, obviously, and we do have some heaters to prevent all the piping from freezing. In the utility shop, the offices have both air conditioning and heating, and in the shop, we have ventilation and heating only, no cooling.
And Frank, am I understand, some of these you've not decided on, whether to go to insulated doors or to go chain operated or electric openers? Is that what we're to now figure out sitting here tonight?
Well, those are options that if council wanted to save the money, we could do that. Would you like my recommendations on those?
Well, that just seemed like what it was that you're putting in front of us here, is whether we want to do this stuff or not on these recommendations.
Right,
Am I misunderstanding what's in front of us?
That's my understanding also.
right. So,
You're asking us to decide whether we want to deduct these things tonight when we haven't had a chance to really discuss it?
okay, this is what I was instructed to bring to council, so yes, that's what I'm asking.
So we're to pick whatever we don't want removed and then vote on that. Is that correct?
I think the prices came in a little higher, so we asked him to take a look at some of the prices and provide some options to council, because this was a little higher than what was originally proposed.
My turn?
Well,
Is it my turn? I
Yeah.
have questions.
yes.
Looking at this, the concrete price comes out almost $7 a square foot, which is almost twice the rate. I would suggest we eliminate the concrete aprons and we can sub those out ourselves. And then we go with the 3 and 4 that he talked about. That'll save us almost 27,000 off of it. But what I'm confused is this with the addition? Somebody mentioned an addition. Is this price with or without the addition?
No,
Or
It's-
the
it's
expansion?
It's with the expansion.
The prices
the
for the longer building, we could save approximately $30,000 if council wanted to go to the
But
smaller
this
building.
cost is with that expansion.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So that would almost pay for the expansion.
Yeah, and the expansion probably is needed.
Mhm.
If we're gonna store stuff.
I'd be in agreement with Jack on the concrete and the electrical, and I would also, what is the last one there?
Right here.
Stainless
The
steel.
13.
Oh, yeah, and also the openers and the fixtures. If we did all of those, that'd save us $46,000.
I like his shop
That
one
would be my
better.
recommendation.
And I very much agree on the chain openers. I've owned many of these, and the chain opening's fine. If you were running an actual repair shop where you had in and out all day long, then I would go with the electrics, but
But I think,
that's not what this is getting.
I think we do need to have the insulated doors, so.
Yes.
Yes, on the insulated
Yes.
doors.
And that's kind of what I was hoping for with council. I knew council had a lot of
So
more
we're
experience
gonna
of this than I
we're gonna
did as far as these
keep
shops go.
Number 1,
So,
number 2 and 3,
And 4 and 5,
and 4 are going bye-bye,
and 5,
Well,
and
wait,
5.
Yeah, what do we think about 5?
and
Yeah,
4.
I would say,
Stainless steel to
five.
porcelain, I don't,
Yeah, I would recommend staying with the porcelain myself.
Because it's not open to the public, so.
Right.
I'm-
see that.
No, this is
public.
the public
For the
bathroom.
restrooms.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
for the
Then
restroom.
I'm sorry, I thought that had to do with the building,
No,
which I really don't like that we are talking about both of these at the same time.
So
Price,
The-
price and all.
the option 5 is for the restrooms at Memory Park, and
Oh,
the
okay.
Parks Department has strongly recommended stainless fixtures on that.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that also.
my
so-
apologies, we
Okay.
thought this was for the one building.
So I don't know if you heard Lon, we're talking stainless for the public,
Yes,
porcelain for the town.
Correct.
okay.
Also, why are we going with a 20-foot tall building?
It has to do, it has to do with the equipment that's going there and the height of the overhead doors and the room that we need above it for them to coil up and miss the lights.
Okay, now that you're going with insulated doors, the roll-ups are not an
No.
option anyway. They'll be
Right.
on rails.
Now they're gonna be a rails, correct?
So an 18-foot building would then,
I'll have to run the math and see. But the savings isn't gonna be all that much to save 2 feet all the way around.
I have a question for, I don't know who, but if we're gonna make this motion, do we have to come up with a total to make the motion? Do we have to do the math here, or do we just make the motion with the adjustments?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, if you want to make the motion with just the options, we will make sure the math is right.
Okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
no. What, this is a Joe question now, I believe. Where are the monies coming from for these independently?
Here's Joe.
Got the numbers. Okay, so the Memory Park restrooms, that's the easy one. We budgeted $150,000 in facilities maintenance out of the general fund. So the additional, it's about $100,000 will come out of contingencies. And we have adequate funds and contingencies. Now, the utility shop buildings, we split them between 50-50 between water and sewer. So, we budgeted 160 for both water and sewer, so we only budgeted 320. This is gonna be about $300,000 more. And that overage will be split between the two enterprise funds, in the water and the sewer. Now, the water enterprise fund, I looked today, based on our current projections, it's gonna take their budget over 50,000, what we budgeted, but they have plenty of reserves to cover that. The sewer enterprise fund, because Mike has saved Mike Beauvais has saved some money on some capital things this year, they're still gonna be under budget even with this overage. So,
Okay,
the bottom line is we can afford to do these in all three funds.
but these all are out of utilities enterprise funds,
Yeah,
whether it be sewer or water.
yeah, we split them right down the middle.
Okay.
So water pays for half and sewer pays for half of the utility building.
Okay.
The,
So no general fund money going to this building?
no, none
Okay.
whatsoever.
Just the,
Just for the restrooms. The restrooms is all general fund.
Understand.
you good now, Corey?
I am good now.
Anybody else? Okay, with the,
Yeah, here we go, here we go, here we go.
let's see if we can get it right.
I'll make a recommendation, we approve the amendment to the design build contract to Jebco Construction Companies LLC in the amount of, no, yes, subtracting, okay, in the amount of $876,171 with the subtraction of the concrete aprons at $14,375. The option number 2, the garage door openers, $5,985. Option number 3, on the electrical gear and lighting utilities building, $7,400. And option 4, on electrical gear and lighting restroom building of $5,100. What was that?
I make a second.
Think you're good?
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Excuse me, Mr.
I mean, no.
Just one slight correction. I think the motion stated to deduct the concrete aprons. That was not a deduct. That was an add-on if you wanted to do the
Oh, okay.
aprons, okay?
Okay, so
Okay, we're
not to do the add.
not gonna do that.
I
Do we need
understand.
a new motion?
Attorney says good.
We okay?
He said we're good.
Andrew's okay.
Okay.
We're all pretty spiffy.
Frank's got it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you. Executive session. Council may vote to recess the regular meeting and hold an executive session which will not be open to the public for the following purposes. Item A, an executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A1 for discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, appointment, or salary of town manager Cecilia Gripman. Item B, an executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A4 for discussion or consultation with the town attorney regarding a potential intergovernmental agreement with the city of Prescott relating to water service. Item C, an executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation and legal advice with the town attorney regarding a pending notice of claim.
I'll
I
make,
need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
After a 5-minute
We will
break.
take a 5-minute break.
Aye.
You're gonna make a motion?
For what?
I'm gonna call it back in regular meeting
Okay.
and make a motion that we have directed staff to.
Not to make a motion, just announce it, right? Do we have to make a motion to reconvene?
Hey, I got somebody stayed.
No.
We just do it. There won't be no motion.
So we get everybody out here.
Here you go, Lon, you can keep that, you need that.
Yeah.
His problem lies right there.
I think we all go out and clean up this property.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta crank the recoil on this chair.
Okay. Are we ready?
Ready?
We have adjourned from the executive session and reconvened in regular meeting. Item A, discussion possible action regarding town manager's succession planning. I would like to have a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye. Aye, bye.
Good night.
Got that?
been a lot of fun.